Hey everybody, today we have a huge AMA with Turn and we are super excited for your upcoming IDO. Could you start by introducing yourself and your role at Turn?
Yes, so I am Jacob Kovalevsky, Chief Strategy Officer at Turn. With the company since we were scribbling up white papers, so like very much since the beginning. White paper was written in 2020, kind of started building it in 2021. So 4 years building out and very excited to finally get the product out there.
Amazing. So for those that are hearing about Turn for the first time, can you explain what is it, what problem you're solving in the blockchain space?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started working full time in the industry in 2016 at a project called Lisk. For those people who are familiar, very OG ICO project. Fundamentally, it was sidechains developed in JavaScript, which it was very much a hot topic as to what interoperability between those sidechains would look like. So in 2016, 2017, we kind of anticipated interoperability to be solved a lot quicker than it actually was. So when we left the project in 2020, myself and as the former head of development at Lisk and the founder of Turn now, we kind of felt like we had strong ideas about how we wanted to attack the problem of interoperability. Namely that like bridging assets in between two chains is great, but we wanted to see more essentially composable smart contracts interoperability with atomic guarantees, namely that it's real interoperability. You can chain actions across different ecosystems, knowing that if anything goes wrong at any point, everything reverts back to its original state. And fundamentally, you always hear about onboarding the next billion people or whatever in this industry. And, we really believe that it can't happen until interoperability is really an under the hood thing where people don't even need to, look at scary assets or figure out if they have gas on the destination chain or wrapping assets. Like none of this is really fit for purpose. And so that's fundamentally what we've been building. What we consider essentially to be a composable smart contracts platform.
Amazing. Thank you for the explanation. So you're an OG and you guys got a strong team behind you, it sounds like. But, for people that aren't too technical, how does Turn actually work? Can you explain what cross-chain execution means and why it matters for regular users?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so fundamentally, blockchains operate in silos in a lot of ways, and what we really need as a industry is to do away with that, essentially, to be able to cross in between ecosystems and not have the stress of trying to figure out how to get from one to the other. Fundamentally, how we initiate it as a protocol is it's an intent-based system wherein a user signals what they want to happen and where, and then we have a network of fundamentally off-chain agents who carry out that action, submit a cryptographic hash proof that it's been done exactly as the user requested to the Turn protocol. That gets validated as true. And then, the rewards then unlock on the destination chain for that actor. But fundamentally, it's a case of users being able to signal whatever they want to happen and it being carried out for them bespokely, basically, by these agents. A core aspect of that is actually having this wide array of these executors and something that we focused on very heavily because the protocol is only as good as essentially these agents. And on Testnet we had about 13,000, about 50% of which were daily active, which we thought was pretty compelling. It's fundamentally just a case of users being able to signal what they want to happen across ecosystems and sort of Turn handling the under the hood stuff to make it happen.
Awesome. Easy to understand explanation. And I do agree with you. The barrier to entry is quite high. Learning how to, set up a wallet, how to bridge, having the gas fees on that chain you're looking to bridge to. And it's quite technical for people who are just getting started. You mentioned the testnet just wrapped up. Congratulations on that. Can you share some metrics, highlights from that phase? What did you learn from? What are you guys improving?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we launched out our testnet, we set out with a very clear goal about what we wanted to achieve. And fundamentally, when you're building a protocol that allows smart contracts to talk to one another,
Mhm.
you fundamentally need it to be very high throughput because there's a lot of actions happening all the time, and you want the system to be resilient and able to carry out these actions. So we want to stress test the system as much as possible, basically. To do that, we ran an airdrop campaign with a separate token from ours called the burn token
Nice.
that users are able to burn and essentially redeem for mainnet turn tokens. And fundamentally, as a function of that, we saw a lot of traffic. We had something like 250,000 wallets engaged with the protocol. And look, we're not naive to the fact that a lot of these will be bots, a lot of these will be Sybils, farmers, whatever. But at its core, that's okay with us because whoever is stress testing the system is high value for us and brings value as far as we're concerned. Goes without saying that we do want the airdrop to go to real, genuine users, and we've been working with Gitcoin and Human Passport to actually assess who is a Sybil and a farmer and who isn't. Actually, quite pleasantly surprised for about 10% were actual real human beings, which fundamentally we were actually expecting to be lower. So I think that was actually a very strong result, to be honest with you. And yeah, I mean, we did about 50 million cross-chain transactions at our peak, about 1 million a day. And yeah, really was just a case of making sure the system functions under high stress. Goes without saying there were moments when things weren't working perfectly, but I mean, this is what you run testnets for, right? And I think fundamentally across all metrics, we do really consider it a resounding success, to be honest with you, and something that puts us in a great stead for launching out mainnet.
Awesome. I mean, those are tremendous numbers. So congratulations again. And I do agree with you. There's a lot of extractors and Sybils, so it's great that you guys are filtering through them and rewarding genuine users. Let's talk about some of the utility you guys are offering. Like, what are the main use cases for Turn? How does it benefit developers, users, and even blockchains?
Yeah. So fundamentally, how it benefits users is that they're able to keep assets or remain within one ecosystem while carrying out functionalities across different other ecosystems. So fundamentally, you're able to do something like signaling, hey, I want to mint an NFT on this ecosystem,
Yeah.
and then stake an asset or whatever, stake that NFT there, and you're all carrying it out in one sort of seamless functionality or intent, basically. So once again, it goes back to the point of just really ease of use, and sort of not having to go step by step manually of like, okay, now I have to bridge my assets from Arbitrum to Optimism,
Yeah.
and then I have to mint, and then I have to send it back, and like it's all just carried out in one atomic execution, basically. Fundamentally, for developers, obviously developers are at the core of what we do in a lot of ways, and sort of as per the original white paper, we wanted to develop this open repository for smart contracts that developers are able to like submit their codes to. Anytime that code is used or leveraged by anyone, they get remunerated in our native token. And that's something that we always felt would be like a high value add in enabling developers to sort of build out economies around their code. And it's purely defined by how regularly it's used, fundamentally how much utility it's providing, and then remunerated in direct proportion to that. But look, fundamentally, on the developer side as well, it's a case of finding very exciting teams that could benefit from actually being cross-chain from the beginning. We're working with like a lot of the sort of most prominent ecosystems in the space, your Monad, Says, all the L2s and so on, and really picking out teams that we see in those ecosystems that we see as high value and sort of becoming their native cross-chain solution from the jump.
Awesome. I love that you guys are empowering devs and you're really streamlining the process and making things very efficient for users, retail users in this case as well. So you mentioned ecosystems and you guys are working with major ones like Ethereum. You just said Monad, Polkadot, Cosmos. What's the integration strategy? How do you pick a chain and like what can devs expect?
So I think, as an interoperability solution, you kind of have to assess the lay of the land and sort of pick your battles quite wisely. I think a case in point of a project that's done this exceptionally is Wormhole. They are kind of the Solana bridge, and I think we're not naive to the fact that we're not going to outcompete Wormhole on Solana bridging kind of thing. But we kind of want to apply a similar playbook, namely looking at ecosystems that we consider maybe underserviced but extremely high value and high potential, and going into those. And you're not going to work with that ecosystem or become its native bridging solution from day one. Like, it's just not how it works. So it becomes a case of actually going a bit more micro with it, picking out the teams within those ecosystems that we see are doing exciting things, working with them, and then sort of scaling out across that ecosystem. We have a very sort of firm mindset about which ecosystems we want to target from the jump, and integrate as we roll out as well, because it's going to be a sort of progressive integration strategy. But I think our community can be very excited about what we've got up and coming as ecosystems that are going to sort of join the Turn projects.
Awesome. So filling in gaps where they may be underserved. I love it. Like the really detailed answers that you're providing. So, as you know, a lot of people in crypto, they're looking for ways to get involved early, whether that's support, getting into the token early. How can community participate or contribute to the Turn ecosystem right now?
Yeah, so I mean, currently, as you mentioned, we're doing our sale
Yeah.
across some launch pads. I think that's a great way if you want to sort of delve in and get your hands on the token. I think having the token is fundamentally a pivotal part of actually engaging with the protocol.
Yeah.
So for enable to actually use what we've built out, it's important to hold and have that token.
Of course.
I think like fundamentally, and it sort of goes back to the point of developers. I think that's kind of where we're targeting a lot and where we see a lot of value. I think people who are happy to get in and start building out with what we've developed, I think that's definitely very valuable. We're running a program around onboarding executors as well. So fundamentally the infrastructure providers on the network.
Yeah.
We've worked incredibly hard to make it as easy and accessible as possible, wherein you're able to just download our GUI basically, tick off which ecosystems you're happy to be bridging in between, what like volume you're happy to do, what profit you're looking for, and fundamentally just runs in the background and sort of helps you profit basically, and make your assets actually work for you while supporting our ecosystem. So yeah, I think those are the sort of the big main ones, fundamentally sort of getting involved with what we're building.
Awesome. And you heard it live from Jacob right here. If you guys want to support Turn, they're currently going through their IDO phase and sale. So check that out. And we'd love to have you guys in the community. So are there any upcoming partnerships, ecosystem programs, or even events you could tease us with today for everybody listening in?
Yeah, I think we'll actually be sort of announcing our roadmap for the rest
Awesome.
of the year in the coming days. I think fundamentally, once again, to sort of a point about targeting specific ecosystems, we like what's really going on in Hyperliquid quite a lot, and fundamentally it being an EVM, unless you're using Hyperliquid Core, but I mean
Yeah.
fundamentally it is an EVM, so it's quite a smooth integration process as far as we're concerned. I think that's one that we're very excited about. Celestia as well. We've got light clients in the works that are actually technically already on mainnet, but I
Awesome.
think will bring a lot of value to the ecosystem. There's so many things in the pipeline. We're working with a lot of like very solid infrastructure providers to sort of expand out the Turn offering like very holistically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think stay tuned for the roadmap that's coming in the next few days, and I think there's going to be a lot more detail there. But I think there's a lot to be excited about going forward.
Amazing. Thank you for the little tease. So a lot of teams focus on pre-TG and do tons of marketing, but what's your strategy post-TG? Like how do you guys plan to build momentum, drive real usage of the Turn protocol in the months following the launch?
I think that's once again back to the point of integrating high value ecosystems, right? I think
Yeah.
that's where a lot of value comes from. I think it's a case of actually building something that's useful, I think that's where we're going to see a lot of value accrual happening. I think to your point, people often market around the token like it's their product, and fundamentally that's not how we're viewing it. I think the protocol is the product and we're not shy about that. with obviously the token being a core aspect of it. But I think, the way we're launching out and, the plans that we have ahead, I think it's a case of like very much just expanding out the turn offering, getting into as many people's hands as possible. I think we're very, very confident that what we've built is high value, high utility, and will provide genuine value to people who engage with it. And yeah, like I said, we're very confident in that. And I think it's just a matter of time until we become a big player on the interoperability scene.
Awesome. Jacob, I really love that answer because I tell teams quite often that the product and platform and the token are two totally different animals. Some people focus strictly on the token and not so much on the product, and then some teams are focusing just on the product and not so much the token. And they're two different strategies, of course. So I love how you touched on that. Turn is built on deep technical foundations, but also has clear world potential. What are some of the most exciting use cases or partners you're working with?
I think specifically when we're talking about partners and use cases, I think one that I'm personally most excited about is the work we're doing with a company called Polymer. And it's fundamentally to build out this universal proof layer wherein you can sort of validate that any action has happened in any ecosystem with full guarantees, basically. I think what the Polymer team is doing is really, really exceptional. And that's sort of one of the integrations that we have up and coming and in the pipelines. So yeah, I think that's personally what I'm most excited about. I think going back to sort of the Celestia-like client as well, I think there's a lot of value going on in the Celestia ecosystem. I personally think it's still quite underrated or underappreciated, especially recently. It's been getting a bit of bad press around, sort of price action and VC involvement and whatever. But like fundamentally, and this goes back to what we were just discussing about token versus product, right? I think the Celestia product is still incredibly valuable, and there's a lot of good stuff going on within the ecosystem. So I think that's one we're very confident about and happy to be working with. Yeah, but like that's just two things of a list of 100 I could give you that I'm very, very excited about for the coming weeks and months.
Thank you, Jacob. So last but not least, like what are some of the key dates and milestones the community should keep their eyes on as we approach TGE?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got obviously, as we mentioned, the sales going on.
Yeah.
That's followed by TGE. We're going to be doing a phased rollout of centralized exchanges, but we have quite
Awesome.
a solid lineup there. Mainnet comes after that, which is when we sort of really bring online what we've been building. And then yeah, like as I mentioned, like following on from that, it's all going to be sort of detailed in the roadmap. But like there's so many exciting things just in like this quarter coming up. Everything from like the hyperliquid integration, the Polymer
Huge.
deployment.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much going on there, and in Q4 it really ramps up as well, even more so. So yeah, a lot going on. It's going to be a busy few months and rest of the year, but like very, very excited for all of it.
Likewise, we're excited. Thank you, Jacob, for your time. Maybe you could drop your socials where people could find you and join your mission, more importantly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, on Twitter, T3RN_IO. My personal was Kovashevsky. But yeah, I'll send that all across. But yeah, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And yeah, looking forward to launching this out.
Thank you. Good luck on the TG, the mainnet launch,
Thank you.
everything you guys got going on.
Awesome. Thank you so much.